Welcome back to another Inductive Bible Study. You see that I've got the NLT open on the right side of the screen in the Olive Tree app, and you see that on the left side of the screen I've got Evernote open up with the notes from my Inductive Bible Study. The passage today is Mark chapter 4, verses 1 through 20. I can't fit the whole thing on the screen this time, so you'll have to look it up on your own. Pause the video, go ahead and read Mark chapter 4, verses 1 through 20. It's a parable of the farmer scattering seeds and how the seeds grow differently or they don't grow, and then how Jesus interprets the parable to his disciples at the end of the story. So here is my inductive study on Mark chapter 4, 1 to 20. And heads up, I am looking at this as a planter. I'm looking at this as because I want to know what Mark chapter 4, 1 to 20 has to say to me as a kingdom agent, as somebody who wants to share the gospel and wants to see others come into God's kingdom. So that's the lens that I'm looking through. So here we go. Observation, what did I hear from the text? And I probably heard similar things that you hear from the text, some things that jump out to me, that Jesus began teaching by a lake shore, so he's still teaching. People are crowds are coming to him. Large crowds gathered. He sat in a boat to teach. People were on the shore. He's in the boat. The very first thing I notice here is how crowd-wise he is, creating a physical separation between him and the people that are coming around him so he doesn't get himself hurt or burnt out. Jesus taught them using parables. So here's the parable. A farmer planted seeds. First of all, some fell on the footpath and birds ate it. Secondly, some fell on shallow soil with rock underneath. It sprouted quickly but died, had shallow roots. Thirdly, some fell among thorns. They were choked. They grew, but they had no fruit at all. That's, unfortunately, I think that's pretty common today. And fourthly, some fell on fertile soil, sprouted, produced 100 times as much crop. I think those would generally be the kingdom agents, I think. Disciples asked for the meaning of Jesus' parable. Parables are used for outsiders, the crowd. The disciples are permitted to understand kingdom secrets. Very first time in the Gospel of Mark that we actually see a dichotomy here, that Jesus identifies people who are insiders and outsiders. The insiders are those part of his lead team. The insiders are the kingdom agents. The outsiders are those who are still in the crowd, who either have not embraced Jesus with receptivity, maybe they're maybe they're late adopters, maybe they're just trying to figure out if they want to follow Jesus yet. Maybe it's those people who have started following Jesus, but they're not fully committed yet. They're still kind of dipping their toe in the water to see if they really want to be a follower of Jesus. And it's certainly those who aren't demonstrating kingdom agency, those who aren't communicating the gospel. So there's a difference between insiders and outsiders. The insiders are definitely the agents. Those who are communicating and demonstrating the present reality of God's kingdom, that's who Jesus is considering as his insiders. Then Jesus gives the meaning of the parable that he gives. The farmer plants by taking God's word to others. That's the communicating of the gospel. Some hear the message, but Satan takes it away. Some hear and receive it. However, they don't last long because the roots are pretty shallow. As soon as problems, persecutions come, they fall away. Thirdly, some hear, but the worries of life, lure of wealth, that prevents any fruit. And oh man, my heart groans in the inside because this feels like where the North American church kind of lives at these days. Some hear and accept, and they produce a harvest. They become farmers, and these would be the kingdom agents. Okay, so what does it mean? Just keep in mind that I'm wearing the lens of a planter, right? I'm starting a new thing, and I'm trying to figure out what does Mark chapter 4 say to me about the new thing that I've started. And I've got much more than 20 years experience doing this stuff, right? And I've had my heartbreaks and I've had my successes. So it's going to say something different to me than it says to you. So what does it say to me? What do I think it means? The farmer seems to be a kingdom agent communicating the gospel. Of course. I mean, I say duh, obviously. Like kingdom agents, we are the ones who go and we communicate and demonstrate the present reality of God's kingdom right here and right now. So that's who the farmer is. That's who Jesus is in the story. And this is the kind of person that Jesus wants to release as well. Those who will go and do what Jesus does, reach crowds, communicate the gospel, invite people to follow Jesus, mentor them, and release them into agency so we have more farmers. Farmers find crowds to share the gospel with, and that's what Jesus does. Jesus finds crowds to share the gospel with. In the crowds, there are those who Satan will prevent from hearing and receiving the message. We've seen that there's critics in the crowd. That's a good one. We've also seen that there are kingdom aggressors in there. Those are pirates and those are plotters. So the crowds are seated with people who are really agents of this world's kingdom, or agents of the enemy, agents of the devil, who prevent people from receiving Jesus and even hearing the gospel. Some will hear and receive it, but will quickly fall away because they have very, very shallow roots. So any problems, any persecution that comes up in their life, and immediately we see them falling away. I was thinking about this, about those people that will immediately fall away, and I'm thinking about what I can do at For Community. I need to have a plan that integrates people into community really, really quickly. I need a plan for fast engagements, like people who want to come our way and people who want to get connected relationally. We continue to keep them connected relationally so that their roots aren't very shallow. There are also those who will remain nominal. They're not swayed one way or another. I call them nominal pew sitter smileys. They're producing no fruit. And we see a lot of this. There are people who come to church and they never get past the needing of Jesus. They never get past where they not only need Jesus, but now they have Jesus and can give Jesus to people who also need Jesus. There's a lot of people who come to church, they're just takers and takers and takers and takers, and never really realize that they can step up, or never do step up, as the givers of Jesus as well, and the dispenser of blessings as well. And some of those people in churches, they become very nominal. For some reason, they go to church just, I don't know, to hear a sermon or something. They're just pew sitter smileys, and they never bear fruit. None of these people are counted as insiders. I want us to realize that. None of these people are counted as insiders. So if that's the kind of people that you're surrounded with and I'm surrounded with, we need to be careful about how much energy we expend on people like that. Some will hear and engage and become kingdom agents. This is where we want to be spending most of our energy. Those people who will step up into agency, these are the people that we really need to be investing our time and energy into. So I need a plan to identify who will become kingdom agents and then bring them alongside me into some form of a lead team. I need to be investing in those who will be kingdom agents alongside me. And that is a worthy investment and a worthy expenditure of energy. I can't expend my energy on everybody, so I need to expend my energy on those who will come alongside me and continually multiply the work of sharing the gospel, inviting people to say yes to Jesus, mentoring them about what following means, and releasing more people into agency. That's where I need to be investing my energy. Here's something new that we've seen for the first time in the gospel, and some people don't like this idea, but there is a distinction between insiders and outsiders. There is an us and a them, and Jesus says it right here. Jesus makes a distinction between insiders and outsiders. The disciples are insiders. The crowd is identified as non-insiders. They're outsiders. There is an us and them thing in the Gospels. He communicates differently to those who are not on the inside. To the outsiders, he communicates differently. To the crowd, he communicates differently than he does to his disciples. He's using parables as he's sharing Bible content and as he's sharing the gospel. He seems to be working the crowd, testing for receptivity before he brings people into his lead team or into his inner circle, and then invests real time and energy into them to give them a deeper truth and to help them understand how it is that they live for Jesus and how they step into agency. The crowd is still both positive and negative. It's mostly negative though, but Jesus treats the crowd very, very differently. He seems to be creating distance at the same time he becomes accessible. Now, as a planter, as an agent, I think that you and I need to be very, very mindful of this, because everybody needs or wants some kind of energy and time investment from us to them. And we need to be careful about how much we're investing into people, because people can suck us dry. The best of people and the worst of people, doesn't matter. People can suck us dry. And we need to be very, very careful about who we're spending energy on. So what we see here in this text is Jesus creating a boundary between himself and the people. It's a physical boundary. He's in a boat. They're on the shore. For those who demonstrate receptivity, he draws them in and he spends more energy on them and spends more time with them. For those who don't demonstrate some level of receptivity, They're not really trying to embrace all that being a follower of Jesus is. He spends quite a bit less energy on them, and he has a more visible boundary between him and them. He's adopted a tool of communication which has also given him a boundary between he and the crowd to prevent them from sucking him dry of all of his energy. Man, I've been locked into this in years past, where I've been so consumed with wanting to share the gospel and wanting to see people come to Jesus that I have invested my energy in practically anybody that has come along. And I still will do that. However, it's not, I need to be careful about this long-term investment and about who gets the first part of my energy and who gets the first part of my time, because everybody wants some little piece of a kingdom agent. So I need to be careful about who I invest my time in, because there's only so much of me to go around. So I need to be investing most of my energy into those who step into agency, into those who help me share the gospel, into those people that help me draw into the crowd those who need to hear about Jesus and those who would be receptive to the message. That's who I need to be investing my time in, fellow kingdom agents. If I invest my time in everybody without discernment, without qualification, I'm going to burn myself out, and I need to not do that. Kingdom agents are farmers. We all plant. Every one of us that want to communicate the gospel, want to see God's kingdom grow. We're all planters. We're all farmers. Those who, for some reason, don't find somebody to share the gospel with, we need to remember that they're still part of the crowd. If someone has never, ever done something to step into agency and demonstrate that they are also Christians and that they're sharing the gospel and trying to lead others to Jesus, we need to be careful about how much energy we expend on them, because they're still part of the crowd. So we need a different way of communicating to the crowd that keeps them in the audience, keeps them in the crowd, and until they're receptive enough to really fully engage and fully embrace who Jesus is and what it means to be an agent of Jesus, a follower of Jesus, something that'll also keep them engaged. So I need a way to create distance between myself and the crowd so that I don't burn out. And that's so key right now, man, because I've got kids, I've got a wife, I've got a life, I'm a full-time student right now, I'm planting something new. I need to be very careful about not burning out, because all of this energy giving, all of this serving, it can really deplete me and suck me dry. So I need to be careful. I need to be wise about who I'm spending the most amount of my energy on. What do I need to do? So as a planter, as an agent, this is what I believe I need to do. I need to be missionally consistent, seeking crowds to share the gospel with, keep them engaged so that they will have time to change their minds and receive the gospel. I also need to be crowd-wise. I need to be remotely accessible to the crowd so that they don't suck me dry, and only become accessible, like a lot, much more successful to those who are receptive and ready to be kingdom agents. And I also need to discern, a shooting star from a genuine kingdom agent, because I've seen those who are shooting stars. It looks like they're stepping up into agency, but then, the problems of life or the lure of wealth or wherever it is, suddenly they just peter out and they just disappear. I need to be discerning between what a genuine kingdom agent is and a shooting star that's just kind of in it momentarily. I need to discern those who are kingdom agents so that I can bring them into the lead team process pretty quickly. Here's my summary of this passage. In this passage, Jesus teaches me how to be crowd-wise. While I need to be missionally consistent, I also need boundaries between me and the crowd. I need to be healthy. I need to make sure I continue to stay healthy and not depleted. Although Jesus is accessible to the crowd, he's not too deeply accessible. He creates boundaries physically first by staying in a boat, and relationally by teaching with parables. While I find crowds to engage with, I need to make sure I protect myself from burnout by only investing in those who are receptive and are becoming kingdom agents. For the rest of the crowd, I need to keep them engaged by creative communication that continues to share the gospel, always giving them a chance to become followers. Like Jesus often withdrew to pray, engage the Bible, connect with his lead team, and rest, I also need to keep praying, engaging the Bible, connecting with quality people, and getting some rest. Here's one idea that really jumped out to me while I was doing the summary, and I don't want to miss it, so I'm going to share it with you as well. I need to redefine success, and maybe you'll redefine success as well. I need to redefine success as missional consistency. I may not see the numbers of people coming to Jesus very, very quickly. I mean, in post-modernity, we don't see a lot of numbers of people coming to Jesus quickly. It's a much slower process because it's relational, where there is no top-down, where everybody is an equal, where there are no more experts. Conversations go much slower because everybody has to discern for themselves if what you're saying is true enough to make it part of their reality. So the process is much slower these days. So really, what is success these days as a kingdom agent? Success is missional consistency. Regardless of whether you're seeing baptisms like 10 a month, 10 a year, 10 every 10 years, missional consistency is the key. We need to continually go and find new crowds of people to communicate the gospel to, give them a chance to receive Jesus, and then mentor them and see them released into some form of kingdom agency. How do we do that? We do that by staying missionally consistent. So from this day forward, my definition of success is going to be missional consistency. Well, that's it from me for now. I'll see you next time.